Serious people who have been shot and stabbed, which was worse, and why? Stabbed, no question. Feeling your attempted murderer's breath on your neck, there are no words. Also, stabbing hurt right away. Being shot was a very complicated feeling. It didn't feel like I expected it to feel. Feeling stabbed felt exactly like I expected. Cutting, sharp, horrible. I very much was able to believe I was about to die when I got stabbed. When I got shot, it was very surreal and shocking because it's very much like I wasn't even there for being shot. There was only before being shot and after being shot, with nothing in between. Being shot wasn't that bad. I didn't really feel much and later saw blood. Being stabbed felt like the worst thing I've ever felt. You just feel the breath escape from you. The cold steel against your warm organs. Just slicing through everything. It's pretty surreal. I'd almost say experience it for yourself, but, you know. Edit January 14th, 2017. Okay, I'll go into more detail. I was shot in the back with a low caliber round. I heard a pop. Yes, it was a pop, not a. It didn't sound like guns do in movies, and then felt nothing. I didn't even know I was shot. Later, I felt something warm, and it turned out it was blood. That's when I noticed the feeling. It was like someone jabbed a walnut into my body through my shoulder blade. It didn't really feel painful. It was an odd, sharp but not intense pain. The stabbing was awful. You can honestly feel the life leave your body. I was just paralyzed for what seemed like a long time when the knife went in. Got weak at the knees. Breath just left my body. I just remember gasping and almost being surprised at the brilliant, intense feeling. I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy. You don't die immediately like you do in movies. If you get stabbed, and if I hadn't gotten medical attention, I think I would have just slumped to the floor and bled out, painfully, over the course of hours. It was very unpleasant. Was shot just under my bicep and stabbed in the lower left quadrant of my stomach with a 4-inch blade. Can post pics to prove if need be. Stabbed hurt much worse in the beginning, and there was malicious intent behind it, which was worse for some reason. A guy tried to mug me while I was in a bad mood, but I was having none of his shit. So he stabbed me, left the knife in, when I didn't immediately collapse, and he ran away. I was shot by an errant bullet from some dumbus trying to shoot some other dumbus over whose corner it was for dealing drugs. Dumbus #1 pulls a gun and Dumbus #2 takes off running. Dumbus #1 starts firing. I was sitting on the porch, wasn't allowed to smoke inside, and raised a hand to shield my face, as if it would done anything. I felt something sting me, stood up and checked my arm. My shirt sleeve was soaked in blood. Didn't hit anything important, so I went to the emergency room and got a few stitches. Just after the stitches were in, it started hurting. Even worse than the stabbing, but it took time for some reason. For me, getting stabbed was worse, but that was due to luck. I was hit in the back, not even close to center mass, and it was literally just a flesh wound. I didn't even notice I was shot until a few minutes later, and the bullet went in and came out, and it was a fairly easy recovery. I was stabbed in the shoulder by a short switchblade, maybe 4 inches or so, two-sided, illegal as hell, and it burnt. Right away, it burnt until I got drugged up, and the recovery from that took nearly 2 years before my arm was back to full strength, or as close as it was going to get. Getting shot, 3/10, could survive doing again. Getting stabbed, 0/10, would never do again. At least with where I've been hit so far. I don't travel nearly as much as I used to though, and never in the areas I used to, so I don't think I'll ever be shot at again, hopefully. Definitely being shot. Not because it hurt more, because it truly did not. Even though I knew there was a chance I would be shot, I didn't really know it had happened until there was some sort of liquid gushing down my face. When I realized it was a hit, I just assumed, since the bullet got me in the head, that I was definitely going to die, so that was a ton of panic. 3/10 for panic, would not recommend. Being stabbed, I saw the psycho take out his knife, and had to make a decision between shooting and killing him or getting stabbed. I was at a point in where I had promise to not take any more lives, so I got stabbed, and I kinda knew I was going to get stabbed. Didn't really know I was getting stabbed exactly. Just thought it was some serious punches, even though I knew he had a knife in his hand. Oh well. 6/10 would not recommend. Stabbed easily. It's complicated to explain, but the most overwhelming feeling about being stabbed, abdomen, 2 stabs, was that of having been violated. That, and the instant pain. I could feel everything happening at once. The heart, not warm. It felt distinctly hot, blood spilling down into my belt and soaking into my pants, tearing, searing, and stabbing pain all at once, not being able to breathe, being instantly weak. Amongst all that, I was still at risk of the guy going in for more. Luckily my buddies showed up real quick. They were other side of the vehicle and sorted everything out. When I was shot, leg, mid-thigh, the world just slowed down. My leg instantly stopped working, and I fell over. I remember mostly just feeling confused. I've been told I was imagining it, but I swear everything slowed enough that I saw the initial spurt of blood jump out of my leg as I was falling. I had little idea I had been shot. It probably took me a full 2 minutes to get my wits together. It didn't hit anything too important, and I was back on my feet within a few weeks without worries. Overall, I think the worst thing about being stabbed was that I was fully aware of all that was going on, whereas when I was shot I was just confused, and by the time I was aware of what had happened, the situation was over. Shot once, stabbed twice. Got shot in the lower back 9 years ago, while in the military. Most of the round hit the bottom of the ceramic plate of the vest I was wearing, but the rest shaved off and went right through. I don't remember the physical pain at the time, but now it's awful when the weather's cold. First time I was stabbed was in 2012. Some junkie was mugging a lady at knife point in front of a grocery store, and being the idiot I am, I intervened. During the scuffle, he managed to jab his knife in my left shoulder blade. That shit hurt. A lot. 10 stitches, so I guess it could been worse. Second time I was stabbed was 3 weeks later under similar circumstances to the first, but in downtown. Different junkie with a streak knife mugging an old guy. Again, like the idiot I am, I intervened. Wound up with a dirty steak knife through the webbing of my left thumb and index finger. That didn't hurt as much. Funny thing is, it was the same doctor at the VA that treated me both times. After the second stab, he told me to stop being an idiot and just call the police. TL/DR. Don't remember the pain of getting shot. Getting stabbed in back hurts way more than getting stabbed in hand. When I was stabbed, it just felt like I was punched low on the left side. Hard. But I never saw the knife. In fact, I never saw the person that stabbed me. It was in a crowd in Juarez, Mexico, as part of an attempted robbery, so maybe that had something to do with it. It hurt, but nothing like the description some of the other folks are putting up here. It was dangerous though. I lost over a pint of blood and got a pretty nasty infection. Getting shot hurt like a motherfucker. But it was a shotgun, with birdshot in one barrel and rock salt in the other. I was visiting a friend in Co, and he thought I was a bear and unloaded on me about 100-ish feet out. Enough to break skin, not enough to knock me down. No permanent damage, but my whole right arm and side got lit up, and the salt went in immediately. It was like being on fire, with hot pepper juice being poured on the burn, and the having it rubbed. It was horrible. 0/10. Do not recommend. Oh, and I've been tased and pepper sprayed too. Mandatory company trainings. Tasing definitely hurt the most up front. Just something to remember. The recovery from getting shot was worse than the knife. Might have just been the location I was at. I was stabbed through the forearm, and it missed the artery. Some stitches and some drugs, and it was fine in a few months. The initial gunshot didn't feel like anything. When you undergo stress in a deadly force encounter, your body undergoes a process called a sympathetic nervous system activation. Stuff happens to you like auditory exclusion, tunnel vision, vasoconstriction, blood pulls away from the extremities to protect the core, etc. Some cases you don't feel injury or anything until you come off your adrenaline dump, also known as a parasympathetic nervous system backlash. Once I knew I was shot, I kinda just sat down and tried to concentrate on my breathing and to keep myself calm. It hurt like a bitch, and the resulting sympathetic discharge caused me to undergo a host of other sensations like tingling in my feet, lightheadedness, dizziness, cottonmouth, difficulty breathing, all sorts of crap. Once I found out it wasn't serious, I felt much better, but during that time, the stress was causing me to freak out more. The bad thing was the wound got infected later, and it took a lot longer to heal. It was in a location where the skin stretches a lot and moves, so it tore open a part of the wound and that's how it got infected. Some antibiotics and more pain meds / better stitches, and it was all good. I should mention I was awake for both during the stitching and exploration of the wounds. That felt worse than the incidents themselves. I took 2 9mm rounds in the chest into a bulletproof vest and a third missed the vest and cut furrow just under the skin over my left ribs. I didn't even notice that one at first as I was too busy trying to breathe again. The 2 rounds in the chest felt like getting double tapped with a sledgehammer. When my partner ripped my shirt open to check the wounds, blood went everywhere. In high school I got stabbed under the arm defending a friend. The actual bullet wound hurt less than the knife wound, but the shock of the 2 in the vest was the worst. The bruising from getting shot in the vest lasted about as long as both the bullet and knife wounds took to heal, and I was able to breathe without pain in a few days. It depends on where you get it in all honesty. I've had a pretty rough childhood / teenage years, so I would say getting stabbed, at first at least, normally. However, being shot in the stomach is not fun at all. Worst pain I have ever felt in my life. However, being shot happens so fast that you don't really have time to register it happened. You just kind of go into shock and get a little queasy. The adrenaline helps as well. Initially, being stabbed hurts a lot worse, and you definitely feel it, and you realize how slow and deliberate it feels. Both of them suck when it comes to healing, but I'd rather be stabbed again over taking a bullet. I only have very minor experiences, but here goes. When I was around 13, I had just visited my oldest cousin and started to walk with him down his road. We got to the end, and as we were turning around, this other kid we knew, who's also 13, comes outside with a .22 LR and starts screaming shit about us stealing a pool. Turns out my cousin stole this dude's pool, and I still have no idea how the hell a 14 years old was able to steal a fucking pool, and starts shooting. He was on the left side of the road and the right side was a 3-foot drop into the woods. I mention this because I didn't feel the bullet hit until I landed from the drop. Turns out the bullet hit my calf and popped out the other side, causing an intense burning and a bit of blood to pour out. My cousin was fine, and we cheesed it all the way home with me limping. Cops were called, and the situation was handled a bit later. Stabbing story is shorter, and not near as bad. Was playing the hand knife game, and got stabbed in the webbing between the thumb and index by same cousin lol. All in all, the stabbing hurt worse. Bullet pain index 4/10, knife pain index 5/10. Sorry I don't have better stories, but in this context I'm glad I don't lol. I don't have an answer to the question exactly, but one time my mom's friend was just walking home one night when this group of people showed up, and they all start beating the shit out of him. He fights back as much as he can, but he feels this weird sensation on his back. At the moment, he says that it felt like someone was poking him with a spoon or something like a finger. He later finds out that he got stabbed a bunch of times. Don't get me wrong, they both suck ass, but getting stabbed is definitely worse. When you get shot, it just feels like taking a punch. Maybe it has something to do with the bullet being warm. IDK. When you get stabbed, you feel it. It physically hurts more. Plus, there's the psychological aspect. Getting stabbed is one of the most personal ways you can kill someone. Long story short, I've been shot 4 times. I've been stabbed once. I would absolutely take another bullet before I'll let someone cut me. I was shot when I was 16 and hunting with a friend. My friend didn't shoot me. We were walking and stumbled on a illegal pot grow, and my friend yelled, and the guy noticed us and shot several times. I was hit in the upper arm with a .22. I'm glad my dad taught me basic gunshot treatment with Israeli bandages and tourniquets and to return fire and to fight back. I was stabbed when I was 17 at a party when someone a big gangbanger hit on a guy's GF and pulled a knife on the guy. When he said something about it, I tried to de-escalate the situation, fight if needed. He stabbed me in the ribs with a serrated blade when I told him to back off. I had the same nurse at the both times. Stabbed pain level 8/10, gunshot pain level 5/10. Breaking my ankle hurt more than both. My brother stabbed me in the hand when we were kids, and my other brother shot a rock beside me, farmer great grandfather's, and I got some of the bullet shrapnel ended up in my leg. I can honestly say that for me being stabbed hurt a lot more, caused more damage, and the scar really bothers me, right beneath my ring finger, hoping it won't ruin my wedding photos. Whereas the shrapnel was more of a shock to me, and was just a bitch coming out, and now I have a few hole-like marks on my legs. But honestly they are barely noticeable and only visible if I put on fake tan. I was shot in the right calf by a ricocheted AK-47 round I shot at a metal plate 200 yards away. It hurt, didn't penetrate my jeans, but left a hell of a bruise. Then I was stabbed in the right deltoid by a big pen. Penetrated about 1/2 inch. That hurt much more, and for a lot longer. The gunshot was about 25 years ago. The pen was 5 years ago, when I was working on an ambulance with a combative patient. Been shot in the mouth with a .22, and stabbed twice in the chest, and once in the arm. The shooting hurt worse, but that's likely due to it taking out multiple teeth. Was fun having 100 little pieces of tooth in your mouth. Getting stabbed really just felt like I was punched, but the pressure never went away, like the fist kept pushing. I shredded my right hand taking the knife from him by the blade and really thought it didn't cut me. Going into shock like that is crazy when it comes to pain perception. The stabbing did more damage. Fucked up my arm really badly. Took 6 months of physical therapy to even use it at all again. Not to mention that I had 1 pint of blood left when I got to the hospital after getting 2 pints given to me in the ambulance. Collapsed a lung, missed my heart by a 1/4 inch, and the one in my arm cut through everything. Arteries, nerves, muscle, etc. Stabbed. It's so much worse. When I was shot the adrenaline was kicked in so much that I didn't even notice I was shot until I was safely away from the shooters. Being stabbed is on a whole nother level. I was looking this person in the eyes moments before, but after it was like I wasn't even looking at a human.